Hello everyone, welcome to another track guide. This time we're at Le Mans. Now this lap had quite a few mistakes in it that cost me a bit of time, but I will do my best to point them out throughout the lap guide. And like usual, I will show an uninterrupted hot lap first, and then we'll get into the track guide. So to open up turn 1, I'm using all this real estate to the left to help open up the corner. I'm turning in when the asphalt changes to the darker color here. I begin lifting and braking before this first white line. You really want to make sure that the car is nice and settled before you start braking here. And you want to try to keep at least 2 tires on the white lines here. Super important in this chicane that you're cutting a lot of this first part here. You want to get as close to the gravel here as you can, even closer than I did. The track limit here seems to be the gravel, so if you do end up taking too much of that, it can net you a slowdown here. But super important to cut a lot here. The second part of the chicane's a little more strict. You can't cut as much. Make sure you keep at least two of the, or I guess the left side tires on the white line. I'm also short shifting to third gear to help with traction. And for the exit here, it's quite tricky. If you take too much of these little bollards, they don't have collision enabled. You can get an easy slowdown. So I'm really trying to keep the car to the right of the second bollard. Keeping the car to the left here to help open up the right here. It's easily flat, but it just helps the car so you can keep it flat. Here I begin braking right as I pass the change in asphalt here, the color, or when the wheel begins to straighten. I'm trailing off pretty quickly on the brakes, carrying or downshifting to third quite late. You want to cut this inside curb here. Once again, these bollards here don't have collision. The car can get a little unsettled here because there's quite a bit of a drop from this curb to the racetrack. So just be careful of that. Super important corner here as it leads to one of the many long straights on this track. I begin braking after this line in front or this blue light on the left. Either one of those works. Very light on the brakes. You really want to aim to cut a lot of this inside curbing. Now on the exit, you can even use more of it than I did. You just want to make sure you keep the right side tires on this blue and yellow curbing. And you also want to make sure that you're back on the track before it ends. So yeah, you can even push your exit more aggressively than I did here. Lots of time to be gained here. I'll just fast forward this bit. You just want to position the car in the middle. You can gain a little bit of time there. And approaching the first Mulsanne chicane, I start to bring the car back to the left at the 300 board. I begin braking after this yellow marking for the exit road here. Super important that you're cutting a lot of these curbs here. As you can see, I didn't really maximize it. You want to make sure you're cutting a lot of this while keeping the left side tires because it can really help open up the second part of the chicane, which is the part that really matters because it leads to the next straight and you can get on the power much earlier than I did. So super important that you're utilizing all these curbs here and attacking them. For the exit, you can run pretty close to this tire barrier on the right. You just want to make sure that you're back on the track pretty quickly. I would say about the halfway point of this blue and yellow curb here. Otherwise, you can get a slowdown. Once again, keeping the car in the middle here. And begin aligning at the 300 board on the right for the next braking zone of the second Mulsanne chicane. I begin braking just before the 100 board. Very similar approach to the last one. You really want to utilize all these curbs. So yeah, you want to cut more than I did, just ensuring that you're keeping the right side tires on the tarmac here. And same here, you want to cut more of this curb here so you can get a better exit. You can run all the way out here on this part of the track. You just want to get back on the track pretty quickly. Another slowdown you can get here. So for this corner, I begin aligning myself to the left at this cone. My reference for braking is as soon as this beginning of the curbing on the right ends, that's when I start braking. using all the track to the left. To the left here, my turn-in point is the orange cone up ahead. You can even attack this apex much more than I did. You can get really close to the bollards, so you can get on the power much earlier here. And you can just about kiss the gravel here without an off track. It's again staying in the middle, just taking the shortest distance through these small turns here. Gains a little bit of time. So for this segment, or for the first part of this segment, I start braking at the end of this green surface on the left here. Very, very gently, just to help settle the car in. And for the second part, I start braking at the beginning of this gravel on the right-hand side. You want to try to kiss this curb on the inside. You don't want to take too much of it because it is quite elevated curb, so it can unsettle the car. And for this corner, I'm kind of judging my distance to the 50 board, and that's my reference for braking. You really want to get a super late apex here as it leads to another big straight. You don't want to run too wide on the exit here. You can run a little wider than I did, but just bear in mind there is an off track that you can pick up here. So coming up to the S's, I start braking at the beginning of this green surface. Very lightly. You want to be really careful with your inputs here, making sure that you don't have much steering lock applied with the brakes, because it's very easy to lose the car. I'm carrying my downshifts quite late, going down to 4th gear, aiming to kiss this curb on the inside. And super important here that you can kind of position the car more to the right so you can take the next part flat out. You don't want to compromise your entry into this one if you have a bad exit out of the last corner. Also super important to cut to the grass here on the first part of this because it can help a lot with the rotation. So I begin lifting off here just to ensure I don't go too far to the right. Start braking after this little blue sign on the right, very gently, downshifting to 4th gear. Start picking up the throttle at the curbing. Very important to be patient here because you don't want to run to the left because you have too far to the left because you have a very important left-hander coming up. So you want to try to hug this curb as much as you can. And then right as I can begin to get the wheels straight, or kind of when this white line begins to straighten out, that's when I give a little dab on the brakes and get the car turned in for the next corner. You can cut much more of this curbing here, pretty much to the rumble strip. On the exit here, just make sure you're getting back on the track before the red or blue and yellow curbing ends. Otherwise, you can get a slowdown. So for the first of the final 2 chicanes, you can open up the first one quite a bit by using the pit entrance. My reference for braking is the beginning of the curb in front. Cutting quite a bit of these curbs. Once again, you can utilize more than I did. Just ensuring that you're keeping the right side tires on the track here. And for the final chicane, braking just before the curb on the right hand side. I'm downshifting to 2nd. And here I'm hitting the throttle before I hit the curbs here to help lift up the front axle to kind of soften the blow of these curbs. You can get it through here quite quickly. You want to cut all the way to the red curbing here. Just ensuring you're keeping at least the left side tires on the track. man, that's a track guide for Le Mans. Hope you guys have good racing this week. I hope I explained well enough the mistakes in my lap. And I'll see you next week.